Hello, hello, welcome. Welcome to the second edition of the intricacies of Nen, the unexplained aspects and the things about it that make us go, wow, this is a pretty deep power system. Well, on this edition, with a bit more knowledge about how I'm gonna do this series, well, we have conjurers. Last time we addressed emitters, people that have control of aura or whose main drive or whose main talent is their control over their aura from a distance, their ability to interact with it from a distance, their ability to even propel it to further distances. To simply put it, it's the effectiveness of their aura being so good even though it's not connected to their own body. Again, Nen is made from the body, it's life essence, and so it makes sense that if it's stuck to your body, it's way strong. But these people are, or these people were, since I'm talking about the whole video, well, not all, but you get what I mean. These people have that power to have it be that effective even from a distance. Probably the best among them can just have Nen be as powerful as if they were casting it from a hand type shit. That's the type of thing that's in place. But today it's gonna be an interesting one because we're gonna address the other type that, or at least the main type that maybe wanna make a video like this. The main type that had me uh, scratching my head, taking out all the. I'm talking about scratching my head, since some of its users, like you can understand, they seem understandable. They seem like they fall into the category. Then you get others who just blew my mind, quote unquote, elder bike. Anyway, today we're gonna be talking about the conjurers. And then, so we go into it. What is a conjurer? Well, a conjurer is somebody who has power over their aura through a certain. I'm sorry, I just had a weird revelation. I'm sorry. Before we go into emitters, this is literally unprofessional. But let me just explain a little thing here. So, among the six non categories, what I'm realizing is that all three up top, all of the three categories up top, have this particularity of being all about the the aura itself, and attributes of that aura, if that makes sense. What I'm saying is, enhancers enhance something, it's the enhancements of whatever is in place. Emitters emit the aura, they just emit it. And transmuters, well, change the nature of the aura. They sort of change the nature of the aura. The aura changes, what can I say? It changes nature, as in it adapts the nature of something else. It can become solid as a rock, or soft as a pillow, or runny like water, or smoky. The aura, all those three up top have this particularity of being things that are simple, but also have this interaction with themselves. I mean, they can interact with other things, but the interaction they have is they are both. All three are like the simplest, more objective ones, I might say. They are pretty. Ah man, I'm struggling to find the way to put it, but I feel like all three of them are more how it works, if it makes sense, compared to latter, the latter, the latter, the latter three. Well, mostly the latter two, because the third one is out of this world when it comes to what it can do. But the two others have this particularity of being things that mostly change other things. You know what I mean? But anyway, I feel like transmutation is a good segment to get into our subject, conjuration. What conjuration is the ability for the aura to transform into or to become something else. And it might make you think this is transmutation. There is this similarity that they share, and it is that transmutation is feels like a change of aura. But this comes back to what I was mentioning earlier. Transmutation doesn't transform the aura completely. It's still aura. It still keeps some of the particularities of aura, or at least it's still being used as aura. But then conjuration is creation of an object or a living thing, creation of something. Through that creation, you get you get things. So they are similar. Let's say if you were to transmit if you were to transmit a brick wall, the aura wouldn't have the porous aspect of a brick wall, but it would be sturdy and have most of the aspects of a brick wall, of what you feel like a brick wall should be. It would be an interaction with it will be, it's gonna be tough. But if the aura is conjured or conjures a brick wall, that's gonna be a literal brick wall. It's gonna be crumbly. It's gonna have all of the aspects of it. That's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, conjuration. When it comes to conjuration, that's the main thing about it. It's this ability to create things, to create objects, and that's where it sort of tricks us, because conjuration, although it is the ability to create objects, living things, again, I can't not mention that it even creates living things if you want it. It creates all of those things, and you might think, well, when it comes to fighting, that might not be as useful. Well, that's where you're wrong. The thing about conjuration is that when you create something, if it is simply something that falls under the normal rules of, you can create mundane things, is what I'm trying to say. You can create things that anybody can create. You can create things that you see on an everyday basis. You could create a knife or such and such. It's gonna be a simple knife, and it's gonna work like a simple knife. It's not gonna be more powerful than anything else or something along those lines. It's just gonna be a knife. But then this is where it gets interesting. Conjuration has this thing where you can create something that has particularities that you wouldn't normally find there. You can create it, and under the creation that you make, you can give it properties that normal knives don't have. You can literally create something like you can create something with rules, with other powers, with literal concepts surrounding it. And there is that to begin with. But then what I came to realize as of recent is that conjuration is not just conjuration. Conjuration is, well, something akin to a transformation too. What I'm trying to say is, when you conjure, you can actually use a base, some sort of base to conjure what you want to conjure. Like this fellow over here, who conjures us a hammer. But we saw something along these lines before when Subone created a motorcycle out of herself and some sort of hoverboard out of herself. So this is not new, but it is a concept that I didn't even understand or could rationally align with this NAND type. So it was a hell of a surprise, which prompted me at first to make this video or to try to make a video trying to explain it after I understood it. But yeah, so conjuration isn't limited to creating out of thin air. You can repurpose things that exist into the form that you want, aka this guy's hand, because that's what he wants. And this is probably more solid and more durable than simply him creating a hammer, because as we understand it, conjurers have to really understand what they're creating for it to be durable, for it to have the strength of the natural thing, for it to have all the properties of it. When it came to Kurapika, in his formation, he pretty much was licking chains and tasting chains and feeling chains and all of that thing. But here, what we can see is he likes some hammers. He's actually you can see it here. He's a demolition worker, so he knows his tools. But most of all, he makes the hammer out of his own body. Now, yes, it is part of his character. He wants to be a weapon himself, so that's one of the reasons why he did it. But there is also the aspects of it that it has more power. We saw it with Subone being able to use the driver's nan to be fast as fuck. She was fast enough to catch up to somebody like Killua using Godspeed, so on and so forth. But as we understand it, these characters are these characters are simply they are simply able to literally transform themselves. They are cars from cars or whatever the reference you can find. But then we get in this fight a fight of the conjurers. We get Heinrich, one of my new favorite characters, not gonna lie, who has this ability that is quite similar to one we might recognize from JoJo. It's biohazard, and biohazard allows him to transform objects into living things while keeping the properties of the object, as in while being able to use what the object was originally made of. He can transform them into living things, into animals in this case. And so the pigeons that were surrounding him happen to be handcuffs that he uses as a method to fight off this fellow here, Padui. And yeah, that's pretty much one of the things about conjuration. It is that you are able to you're able to heavily influence you're able to heavily influence an object, and not just limited to creating it out of thin air. And probably through those conditions, it makes the NAND stronger and the object stronger. But here, the object is also powered by probably enhancement to the point that it can resist gunfire. We even see the fellow here transform it into another object. He is not limited to it, and he is not bound to stay like this. But yeah, that's the first point about conjuration. Conjuration is not simply about the creation of matter. It can be about transforming some of the matter and I was gonna say transmutating it, but sort of, reusing it to make another object, to make a new object, to create something new. But the other part about conjuration that I was sort of mentioning but didn't get into quite yet is the aspect of it that the new object being created, well, it has full potential for things that the user cannot really grasp himself. And what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean by that is simply the fact that sometimes the objects being created by conjurers go beyond what a conjurer can do. Sometimes the object being conjured by conjurers have abilities that go beyond what the conjurer himself can do. That being true, obviously, uh, the process of rules and regulations that one does with his own ability, but also it can really, you can see abilities that get into different types of nen types, or pretty much create things that, honestly speaking, are not falling under most categories unless it's specialist. What I'm trying to say is, when you create an object, it feels like it might be able to get its own independence when it comes to nen, depending on what will you had when you created the object. For example, our man Yokotani here created this little army that follows rules and that follows literal laws. But through that following of the law and through his inaction to attack, this nen conjuration here is literally invincible. So the nen can't attack you per se. It cannot hurt you, but it will for sure defend what it has to defend, and it is for sure invincible. So what makes this nen powerful is literally the rules around it. Yokotani here is literally not an enhancer. He is not none of the above. But his nen creation has the ability to attain those levels, which to me is one of the aspects that make conjuration so powerful. But we saw it before too. We saw it with characters like, oh man, I'm having a blank. I can't remember her name. Shizuku, I think. Shizuku, who has a vacuum cleaner that can suck up anything that is non-living. All non-living matters can be sucked up, be the blood that is literally coming out of a wound, or a whole bunch of corpses, or a whole area full of chairs and other debris can be cleaned up in an instant in some sort of vacuum space, pretty much. What I'm saying is the ability of the 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 ability of the object being created might be dependent on your own nen tree or your own nen category that you were born with, but it might also not be at all. For some characters like Kurapika, it is dependent on it, unless he goes Emperor time, where it doesn't matter that it depends on it. But for other characters like Shizuku, like this fellow over here, that is not important. His category or his nen type of being a conjurer doesn't stop him from creating things that go beyond those limits. Why I think about it is because we think of enhancement as the strongest category when it comes to pure raw head to head opposition. If an enhancement, if an enhancer enhances his fist and punches you, you are not standing if you are a conjurer. But if you make gloves out of conjuration and give them the rule of literally being able to, when you block a punch, the punch dis, uh, disappears and appears on another realm, well, there you go. You just get out of it scot free, and it's not limited to, and you get away with it. Is what I'm trying to say. Because what that does is, uh, when you conjure an object, it's literally fully independent. You saw it with kite. Well, it's not independent, but it is highly depending on the rules, it's highly able to have its own Nen wheel, pretty much its own Nen category. We saw it with Nen beast. We seeing it in with other characters. But yeah, I think that for conjuration, what I'm understanding it is a Nen type that allows for you to cover your weaknesses through the conjuration of things that go beyond it. When you conjure something, you can make it so that it covers up anything that you cannot do. And among the different conjurers we've seen, we've pretty much seen the whole wheel. For somebody like Henry, what use he has of conjuration is literally having, oops, when it comes to characters like Henry, what use he might have out of conjuration is literally the ability to have things that don't look like the things that they are, be able to do the things. I'm sorry, give me a second. Oh man, sorry. Yes, as I was saying, when it comes to characters like Henry, what we understand is that Henry is uh, he gains flexibility around the object that he uses. He gains the abilities of the animal he conjures, then so he can use the objects that he has in unorthodox ways. For example, the camera that he had was able to be used in some crazy ways because he created a cat, so he would have surveillance that didn't appear uh, what might I say, odd. It wouldn't appear out of place. So he created a cat out of the camera. And later on, we saw the pigeons, which is a perfect way for two things. For two things, it is that it's inconspicuous, inconspicuous, inconspicuous. It is an inconspicuous way to work around with weapons for somebody like somebody who works with the GU. His position, so he can walk around with literal weapons without it being of notice. But also, it is quite a useful thing because, and as a conjurer, he obviously needs objects to fight properly. He's not all about that hand to hand. This is useful, but also simply put, the fact that they are flying literal pigeons and they have the ability to move around all over the place helps in their their transformation to be able to move on their own and to be able to literally grab you from whichever angle they need to. But also the fact that he can use N around it makes him have a perfect circle of protection, which is kind of cool. And we see him use it again in that same way, but around objects that are not even his, such as the guns that the guards had, the, that transformed into snakes that blasted their faces off. which is kind of cool. Again, another one of the abilities that simply that simply work in magnificent ways. I mean, this is a shot out of a cartoon. Guns don't shoot that way, but they gain this ability because of his beautiful type of conjurer. That's the use he gets out of conjuration. But other people have the use they gain out of conjuration by not only by the tool, but by enhancing the tool to degrees of beyond the normal use of the tool by enhancing it. But when I say enhancing, not as in enhancement, but enhancing it as in giving it properties, giving it powers, giving it things such as Knuckle, who created the APR doll, or things of that sort. What they get out of the use they get out of it is a supernatural use. It's more of a use that is, it's not about the flexibility of it, it's about the unconventional use they can get out of the object, the unconventional use that they can get out of creating that thing, because that thing has its own rules, such as Yokotani. It's not the flexibility of it. There is no flexibility around that ability. But the potential of it is amazing. It could save him from the king of the ants if he showed up in that fucking room. That's how great that ability is. It's an amount of raw power that he could never muster himself. But we also see it with characters like Kite. Although we don't see the full extent of it, we can see that he has abilities that have their own rules, but also that have their own potential. Like the scythe that he always, well, any object he always has to at least use once. But the scythe, for example, is an attack that can only be used in one way. It's a one type of attack thing. It's always uh, that I'm sorry, I'm losing the word here, but the word I think is full full. No, it's a EMP EMP-esque attack, an attack that surrounds the whole area. It's a circular attack that surrounds the whole area. That's the only attack he can get out of the scythe. There is literally no other attack. But it's useful in that way because it's extremely powerful to the point that that's not something he can simply do out of thin air by enhancement or other types. It is an ability of the crazy slots. But we could also see the gun that he used. Although that one has no further explanations to it, we can also assume that it's not just the mechanical aspect that the gun is made of that makes it so much more powerful, able to take down ants as powerful as squadron leaders. Uh, but, but yeah, what makes his powerful is definitely the fact that he can attain those levels. The fact that it's not about the flexibility in that moment; it's about reaching great heights depending on the ability. So I think that would sum up what conjurers are all about. And I think that would explain some of the conjurers we've seen. If you remember a conjurer that you do not know how their power works, let me know and I'll try to see if I can understand it. But in simpler term, this is what conjurers are all about. Yeah. Oh! I can't make a video about conjurers without talking about the master conjurer himself, Abengane, who literally took out Kurapika's curse by creating a Nen beast. The Nen beast that can literally suck out any ability and delete it has to be performed through a whole ceremony, and you have to keep it around you as long as you have to because of the circumstances. Obviously, it's not about his the amount of Nen within him because when it came to Bomber, his ability works with three people, so you know that that bomb has power and a lot of rules surrounding it. And when it comes to Kurapika, we know how much he hates the Phantom Troop and how much that aura has potential. But what makes it so powerful is obviously the simple fact that, well, a Bengane has a process to it. He has prayers, he has praying to the spirit to do, and he has a literal fear of the beast that might come out of that smoke, and he doesn't appreciate being around the beast. So I think all those aspects play into giving that beast or being that nen the power it needs to actually take down things. So yeah, that's so yeah. I would think that's so yeah. That's how I would summarize conjuration. It's weird. It doesn't do this unless it's yeah, yeah. Those are the conjurers that came to mind, and that's my brief, well, explanation of conjuration. It's an ability with a lot of freedom and a lot of, if I may say, it's an ability with a lot of, um, I guess it's freedom, polyvalence for how to use it, and that's what makes it great about it. It can do a whole lot of thing. It's creating clones, doing this. It's really impressive as a matter of fact. But with the rules around it and everything else, it just becomes even more powerful. It becomes even greater. And yeah, conjuration is a pretty strong ability because you get uh, some abilities that literally go beyond. I feel like what we are understood or what we understand net abilities to be. I mean, funny enough, lots of specialists that we see actually have conjuration aspects to their non conjuration aspects to what they use. Crollo has a book. Uh, I don't know if Lowell was a specialist, but Lowell has a an iPod. Somebody else like let me see. Noah Nostrad has the little ghost. Yeah, most of the specialists we see, Pito has literally multiple conjured nan things that create things. So I think that having something that you summon to take care of some of the tasks is an absolute. I mean, Serenich also has an NBs that he conjured, besides the NBs that he was given. Yeah, so interestingly, lots of specialists tap into conjuration, and that's not something to ignore. But I think I should sum it up as that. So that's about it. I know this is a weird jump going from emission to conjuration instead of going by the other genres around it, but I feel like this is a proper way to do it. So yeah, thank you for the watch. Have a good one. Bye bye.